One sheet of paper, a bottle of Higgins ink, and a ticking kitchen timer. That's all that stands between you and no paycheck. 1946, the L train rattles overhead. The L train rattles overhead and a newsboy shouts about the latest Superman for a dime. Meanwhile, inside a fifth-floor walk-up above a Blint's joint on 2nd Avenue, a 25-year-old freelancer named Charlie or maybe Betty or Jack settles down to draw the dream that'll keep the lights on. No capes flutter in this cramped space, just the soft hum of a tube radio crooning Chattanooga choo-choo and the scratch of a hunt.
102 Crowquill nib on Bristol board. Welcome to the golden age where heroes are ink black, the pay is even darker, and tomorrow's rent is always just one panel away. Section 1 idea or starvation. The alarm is a cheap tin clock you wound with a dime store key.
Swinging your legs off the Murphy bed, you bump the table and spill last night's coffee onto the carpet, which doubles as proof of residence. By 6:30, you're hunched over the kitchenette table, scribbling in a spiral notebook from the 5 dime. The gag has to land in 4 panels, no more, no less, because the editor at United Feature just cut the Sunday half page again. If it's not funny by 7:15, the strip dies, and so does the $10 check that was supposed to cover coal. You mutter a line you overheard in the ration line, tweak it, twist it, and finally smile. That's the one. Section 2. Pencils on the clock. The drawing board is a warped door resting on 2 apple crates. You tape yesterday's thumbnail to the upper left corner and start roughing out the figures. The lowest look-like secretary in panel 2 needs a new dress, but your reference folder is just last month's Vogue with the shoes cut out. You pencil fast and loose because Ernie the mailboy will be here at 9:30. Sharp to carry today's batch to the publisher. A smudge near the border threatens to ruin it. You lick a rag dab and pray. The radio flips to a war bond. Add by a stamp. Lick a dictator. You chuckle because licking is exactly what you just did. Section 3. The ink trap bottle tops pop like distant artillery. Steadying your breathing, you dip the nib and draw the first confident line across panel 1. The ink is thick. Almost Terry rationing hit art supplies hard end. Any hesitation leaves a star-shaped blot that screams amateur. You can almost hear the editor's sneer. One smudge kid, and we'll find another kid. So you roll your wrists the way Conniff taught in last month's W.L. Evans correspondence course. Let the nib kiss the paper and glide. 10 panels, 20 minutes, no room for doubt. Outside, a siren wails. Inside, you swear that line just sang. Section 4, lettering and let down. The speedball C4 is blunt but honest. You block in the dialogue balloons, freehand, no aims guide, no time. The hero's punchline has to fit in 34 characters, including the exclamation point. You shorten infuriatingly to mad, and just like that, the gag sparkles. A knock at the door interrupts. It's Mrs. Gold from 3B, asking if you have a spare onion. You lie, there's half a Spanish one in the icebox. But the interruption costs you 3 minutes. Back to the board. You crossbar the tea and bam, so hard, the table rattles. The ink is drying, the radio is now swing, and your stomach growls because breakfast was yesterday. Section 5, the walk and the pitch. You sprint 6 blocks to the United Feature bullpen on East 45th, sweat soaking the back of your rayon shirt. The art director, a guy nicknamed the Razor for his ability to slice a page in half with a red grease pencil, flips through your boards in 10 seconds flat. He grunts a good sign, then hands you a manila envelope. Inside, tomorrow's assignment, 2 strips, same rate. But the villain must resemble nobody living or dead, especially not the mayor. You nod, because, well, rent. On the sidewalk, you count the cash. $12 minus the subway fare you no longer have. Cue the long walk home, past Woolworth's window full of Captain Marvel dolls you can't afford. Section 6, coal and coffee, back upstairs. You burn yesterday's rejected gags in the potbelly stove you share with the violinist next door. The heat lasts just long enough to boil water for a second cup of chicory. No cream, no sugar, but the steam fogs your glasses, and for a moment you feel like a king. You thumb through the latest issue of the Spiritus Nurse layouts are a masterclass in noir shadows and suddenly realize you've unconsciously copied the tilt of a lamppost. You swear softly, flip the page, and vow to be original by supper time. Section 7. Afternoon fade and second wind. The radiator clanks like a broken marimba. Your eyes blur. Tremor in your right hand, that old war souvenir starts acting up. You press your wrist against the cool window pane, watching the L thunder past, counting rivets until the shaking stops. Inspiration returns. Panel 3 will be a silhouette, all black except for the hero's eyes. You slice the negative space with a fresh sheet of Bristol, brush India ink like house paint. The page smells of pine, soap, and solvent. The world shrinks to the rectangle in front of you. Section 8. The mail call. The postman slips an envelope under the door. A royalty check for a reprint in Famous Funnies. $3.27. Doing the math. Cold bread. Milk you still come up short, but it's enough for a nickel beer at McSorley's. You scribble a note to yourself and tape it to the wall. Next year, syndication. That note is yellowing. Next year has been taped there since 43. Section 9. Deadline drums. The sun sinks behind the water towers. Painting the brickwork gold, you ink the final panel. The villain cackles. The hero swings its. A classic cliffhanger. The last line dries just as the streetlights flicker on. You sign the strip with a modest Smith because pen names are safer than draft boards. Package sealed. Rubber bands snapped. You trot downstairs to the corner mailbox and drop the envelope like a prayer into the tin mouth. The metal clang echoes up the stairwell. Only then do you realize you forgot lunch. Section 10. Night work and wonder back upstairs. A single bulb hums. You unroll a fresh sheet, starting thumbnails for next week's sci-fi backup feature. Rocket ships with tail fins. Square-jawed astronauts, alien queens, in metallic gowns. Your hand moves on autopilot while your mind drifts to the war, to the brother who never came back, to the girl at the USO who said you had dreamer eyes. The radio plays as time goes by. You hum along, inking a starfield, and for one quiet moment, you feel like the universe bends to your pen. CTA if you felt the grit of ink between your fingers. Tap like so this story reaches another dreamer. Subscribing costs nothing and keeps the lights on in this channel's tiny studio. Drop a comment, tell me which Golden Age hero you'd draw first if you had one sheet of Bristol left. Conclusion, the bulb burns out around midnight. You sit in the dark, listening to the city breathe. Thinking the same thing every artist thinks when the page is done. Tomorrow, I'll do it faster, cleaner, funnier maybe, but tonight. Somewhere in newsprint across the country, a kid in Kansas is tracing your line with a flashlight under the covers, believing heroes are real. And that, as you rinse the nib in a chipped teacup, is why the hands still work. Why the timer still ticks, and why the dream of 1946 refuses to stay black and white.